some self-inflicted, as is the case, and boxing's been his saviour.
Inside 6 rounds, but it's going to be a tough fight, a tough occasion to absorb for these fighters as well, and the build-up next week is going to be epic.
Fan of Conor Benn. Let's get that elephant out of the room. I think Conor Benn at one point was one of the fastest improving UK fighters we'd seen until scandal popped his head up.
As the fight day approaches nearer, boxing pros have shared their final predictions on the most anticipated clash of the year, Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. Speculating on how this fight might play out, Roy Jones Jr. came forward to share his opinion. In his view, Chris Eubank Jr. has evolved into a better fighter, and given the size difference, it would be tough for Conor to beat him.
Very tough fight for Conor. Not saying he can't win it, because one big left hook could change anything, but to me, his best chance are to try to land a big shot. If that don't happen, or if he lands it and it don't hurt Chris, then it's going to be pretty rough for him, because Chris is definitely an improved fighter. You understand me? And like, even the stuff he's doing now, he's going to continue to get better. But I think when he came down there with me for that year, it improved his foundation. You understand me? So it made him a better fighter. So he's going to be hard to beat for anybody, especially a guy that's smaller than him.
On the other hand, Conor Benn appears fully confident, expressing that he has been training intensely and has made numerous sacrifices for this fight. He emphasized that his singular goal is to secure victory over Chris Eubank Jr. He further added that he has pushed himself beyond his limits during training to ensure he beats Chris.
It's been phenomenal. You know, I've removed myself from all comforts, and you know, I've made sacrifices this camp. You know, leaving my son, you know, for 12 weeks, my daughter, you know, my missus, you know, so it's been challenging, to say, you know, but I've had a good team there, all set up and all ready to just take care of one thing, one job, and that's getting the victory April 26. You know, so for me, there's been no stone unturned. You know, sparring, you know, likes of, you know, Skull, Bruno, Denzel Bentley, and moving. And moving and pushing my body to the limit, you know, as much as I can, as physically can.
Reflecting on this, Eddie Hearn also shared his view. He noted that Conor has been sensational throughout his training and has sparred with a number of fighters, transforming himself into a beast ready to explode at Chris Eubank Jr. on April 26th.
Eddie, how are you doing today?
Fantastic, thank you. All good after a great weekend in Atlantic City, and ready for Sheffield this Saturday, and then the small matter of Ben Eubank the week after, then Times Square, Riyadh the same weekend, and Johnny Fisher coming up against Dave Allen. Mad time.
With regards to the surrounding hype, Eddie noted that the fight week buildup will be nothing short of electric, fueled by the fierce intensity both Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. bring to the table. He acknowledged it will be a tough occasion for both fighters and didn't shy away from making a bold prediction, confidently stating that Conor Benn will stop Eubank Jr. inside 6 rounds.
I think he'll stop him, and I think he'll do it inside 6 rounds, but it's going to be a tough fight, a tough occasion to absorb for these fighters as well, and the build-up next week is going to be epic.
Meanwhile, Ben Shalom has exuded full confidence in his fighter, Chris Eubank Jr., emphasizing that he doesn't have even the slightest doubt about him winning this bout. In his view, it will be Chris who comes out on top and secures the victory.
It's only one winner. It's only one winner. I think he'll stop him. Yeah.
On the flip side, Frank Warren has also shared his thoughts, asserting that he's never been a fan of Chris Eubank Jr. For him, Eubank Jr. has failed to truly impress, and considering the age factor, he doesn't see him winning at all. In contrast, Warren praised Conor Benn as a younger, more energetic fighter and expressed hope that he will come out on top.
I'm not a big fan of Eubank. You know that. I'm not a big fan of his. Not because of anything, you know, I've not been a fan of his as a fighter. Watching him, he's never really excited me, and he's never at the highest level done it. And he's no youngster. What's he, 35 now? 34, wherever it is. And young Conor, Conor's obviously a younger guy. We'll see what he's all about. You know, this is a crossroad fight for him.
Amid this, Adam Smith shares his different perspective. He stated that when the fight was first announced, he viewed Chris Eubank Jr. as the stronger fighter, but he has since changed his opinion. Smith went on to predict that fans will witness an even stronger version of Conor Benn in this bout, hinting at a potential victory for Benn this time around.
When a fight's announced, who I think possibly, and it was certainly Chris Eubank Jr. 2.5 years ago, I think it was Chris Eubank Jr. again when this was announced a second time around, but it has been wavering. Conor Benn looks phenomenal in training. The ferocity, the amount that he wants it, the more natural sort of size, I think, in the last couple of years that he'll be at. Yes, he's only been really a welter or a light middle, but on the night I think he's going to be a lot stronger than people think.
Weighing in on his stance, Dan Rafael also shared his thoughts. He asserted that he has no doubt Chris Eubank Jr. will come out victorious, given how he has consistently proven himself. Rafael was critical of Conor Benn, claiming he has yet to deliver a standout performance in his career. He also emphasized that Chris has significantly more experience, having faced a higher caliber of opponents compared to Conor Benn.
I have no problem making Chris Eubank the favorite in this fight. I mean, maybe Conor Benn will pull it off. He's coming up essentially 2 weights. He has shown absolutely zero power since his drug suspension. He fought 2 very lesser guys in the United States, and yes, he won the fights, but he didn't shine, in my opinion. And meanwhile, not to say that Eubank is, undefeated and is knocking everybody out or anything like that. He's got his share of losses, but he's fought a much better group of opponents during the course of his career than Conor has. I mean, Conor has never even won like the British title or the Commonwealth title or the European title. At least Eubank has competed in those types of fights, and he's been on the world level a number of times.
On the other hand, Ricky Hatton has expressed his belief in a Conor Benn victory. He highlighted Conor's strong self-belief and relentless determination, stating that these qualities give him the edge to win this fight. Hatton acknowledged that many are backing Chris Eubank Jr., but he personally doesn't see much of a chance for Eubank in this matchup.
It's really interesting to think, to be honest with you. I mean, Conor's going up for 2 weight divisions. He's not fought anyone like the people that Eubank Jr. has fought, at his own weight, let alone 2 weights above. So it'll be very interesting. But Conor has a huge self-belief and drive, to be honest with you. A drive like his dad, the Benn family. I've never seen a family with more drive and determination. So I think everything's pointing at Chris Eubank Jr. But I think I might have a sneaky few quid on Conor, to be honest with you. His drive and his confidence and his self-belief is something that I've only ever seen in a handful of people, and he's going to need that, and I think that might be enough against Eubank.
Meanwhile, Gareth A. Davies also shared his thoughts, stating that he expects Chris Eubank Jr. to defeat Conor Benn. According to him, Eubank Jr.'s larger size gives him a clear advantage, leading Davies to favor him in this matchup. While he acknowledged Conor's aggressive and vicious style, he believes Eubank Jr. will respond with punishing body shots that could turn the tide in his favor.
In the cold light of day, I expect Eubank to beat Conor Benn on points. I expect him to be too big, too strong, to know too much in the ring and be able to withstand the vicious assaults, body and head. That Conor does so brilliantly, all of that, you know how he moves. He's vicious. But if we may be surprised by Conor Benn and his tenacity, but we may also not be surprised that one man is just too big for the other.
Sharing his perspective, Johnny Nelson also weighed in, stating that he's been a fan of Conor Benn and once considered him one of the best improving fighters in the UK. However, Nelson noted that the scandals surrounding Benn stalled his progress and kept him away from active competition. Because of this inactivity, Nelson is backing Chris Eubank Jr. in this fight against Conor Benn.
I've always been a fan of Conor Benn. Let's get that elephant out of the room. I think Conor Benn at one point was one of the fastest improving UK fighters we'd seen until scandal popped his head up. And so unfortunately it put a stop to his development, his consistency of development in his career. So that's the only reason why I'd go against him in this fight against Chris, because he's not been active enough, ring active enough. Whereas you look at Chris he'd lost and turned that round against Smith, but then Chris in his last fight.
Further explaining his stance, Johnny pointed out that if Conor Benn had maintained consistency throughout his career, he might have been inclined to side with him. However, due to Benn's inactivity, Nelson has chosen not to favor him this time around. He also suggested that Chris Eubank Jr. should come out more aggressive in this fight, especially compared to his approach in the bout against Liam Smith.
He still looked like he had control, but I just thought you've got to be a bit more aggressive. You've got to be a bit more busy when you're getting in there with Conor Benn. I don't know what Conor Benn's doing behind closed doors, but if Conor Benn was being kept the consistency that he had up to the point of his career being stopped in its tracks, I'd have sided with Conor Benn. I think it's a good fight, and you can see why both fighters would win.
Meanwhile, Barry Hearn has also shared his prediction, asserting that this bout has all the ingredients of a massive fight, fueled by family rivalry and the intense build-up. He firmly believes that Conor Benn will emerge victorious. Hearn acknowledged that Conor has lost 2 valuable years of his career, but he's confident that Benn is now ready to prove himself by knocking out Chris Eubank Jr. this time.
I think it's going to be a massive fight. I think it's arguably one of the biggest fights ever to take place in England. The personalities, the backstory between the dads, everything works to make this humongous. We could have sold 500,000 tickets. I think I'm with Conor Benn on this. I think he's gone through more than enough in his life, which has now been completely exonerated. What a waste of 2 years of a young man's life. He's got a point to prove, but Eubank is the bigger man. So I see it as a 50-50 fight, and I believe that Conor Benn can knock out Eubank Jr.
Opposing Barry Hearn's opinion, Liam Smith shared a different perspective. He asserted that he sees this as a close fight and leaned toward both fighters, depending on how the circumstances play out. While moving up in weight could be a challenge for Conor, he acknowledged there's a real possibility of Benn winning. However, if the size difference proves decisive, then the advantage shifts to Chris Eubank Jr.
I think Eubank beats him on points, but I won't be surprised if Conor wins. I think Eubank is firmly on the slide, and I know I get stick for saying that. I also think 160 is hitting him now. He's starting to mention it a few times, so that's why I bring Conor into it a little bit more. But like I said before, that being said, if Conor flattens Chris, I won't be surprised. I won't be like, wow, Conor's just knocked Chris out. And if Chris was the same to Conor, I won't be surprised, because Conor's been down, many times before off journeyman, lesser punches than Chris, so I won't be surprised with the outcome, but I do think it's a closer fight this time round.
While many have highlighted the size difference, Dave Coldwell stepped in to remind everyone not to underestimate the capabilities of Conor Benn. He asserted that although Benn may be the smaller fighter, his aggressive style, fast-paced movement, and sharp ring IQ could pose a serious challenge for Chris Eubank Jr. Coldwell praised Benn's quick footwork and intensity, reflecting on his past performances, and emphasized that Conor has evolved into a much more complete boxer now.
Conor might be smaller, but he's definitely more explosive. He's definitely more, has faster hands. He's sharper movements. He showed in the past as well. Remember when when he broke his jaw and then he came back? His boxing ability, moving around, his feet was so much better, because we was all like, giving him props about how much he improved as an all-round boxer.
Dave also pointed out that while Chris Eubank Jr. may be the bigger fighter, he lacks the engine and intensity needed at the highest level. He noted that this might be one of the reasons Eubank Jr. hasn't quite reached the very top or fully capitalized on his potential. In contrast, Coldwell highlighted that Conor Benn has faced tough opponents like Chris Algieri in the past and shown himself to be an aggressive, fast-paced puncher, qualities that could pose a serious threat in this fight.
And also, Eubank, yes, he's bigger, but Eubank hasn't got the engine that he used to have, and he hasn't got that toughness that he used to have, and he's not that good. He's not that good. He's not, that's why he's not gone, at the top. He's not succeeded at the top level yet, because I don't think he's that good. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Conor's that good yet. He's not done anything. He's not done anything at a domestic level yet. Listen, he's beat Chris Algieri and people like that when they're way past it. In his monster phase, where he was knocking everybody out. But prior and post, he's not he's not suggested he's a huge puncher. He's a fast whipping puncher and very aggressive.
Reflecting on his thoughts, Fraser Clark pointed out that the way Chris Eubank Jr. has boxed consistently over the years makes him his favorite going into this fight. While he acknowledged that Conor Benn's determination could play a role, Clark emphasized that with the advantages of experience and size, he sees Chris Eubank Jr. coming out on top.
Even fight. I've probably got Eubank the favourite at the minute, just on. I think he's boxed a bit more consistently at a good level. I know we had the defeat from Liam Smith, but I think he's been looking very good and very relaxed his last few fights. I think it's his to lose, sort of, but you know, I think with Conor Benn's determination and the way, well, I know determination don't always win you a fight, but you know, I think we'll see a different to him going into this fight. I would have loved to have seen him have another fight in the interim, do you know what I mean? And then go into this, but we are where we are, so I think listen, whoever can handle the occasion and everything that goes with it is going to prevail.
Echoing somewhat the same opinion, Josh Taylor sees a potential Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn fight as a 50-50, though he believes Benn hits harder. He questioned Benn's lack of top-level experience and the lingering controversy around him. Reflecting on Eubank Jr.'s loss to Liam Smith, Taylor noted it could give Benn confidence. Still, he favors Eubank Jr. to get the stoppage due to his size and experience.
Conor Benn hasn't really fought anybody, not really beat anybody of significance, but he has improved a hell of a lot. He has put in good performances about knocking out people, but we all know why that was. Knocking out people, you know, eating too many eggs. So we all know why that came into it. But I think that the experience and the quality opposition is on Chris's hands. No, but he did get stopped from Liam Smith. Conor does look like he punches hard as well, so can he take another punch? We don't know. So but I'm edging towards Eubank just because of the experience and level that he's been at. But on the other hand,
meanwhile, Tony Bellew pointed out that there's more on the line for Chris Eubank Jr. to lose than for Conor Benn in this fight. He believes the first 6 rounds could be tough for Eubank Jr. due to Benn's power, but if he gets through them, the size difference might trouble Benn in the later round.
Like I said, there's so much more to lose for Eubank Jr. than there is for Conor, and I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that the only reason Eubank Jr. will win is because of size, because it's not. This is a fight, in my opinion, of 2 halves. The first 6 rounds will belong to Conor Benn. He will not be able to keep Conor Benn off for 6 rounds. If he is able to absorb what Conor Benn is able to dish out for 6 rounds, the fight then turns in his favour, because the second 6, that's when size does come into play.
Amid this, Carl Frampton believes Chris Eubank Jr. should have moved up in weight rather than cutting down, expressing concern about the toll it can take on a fighter's metabolism. He's curious to see how Eubank Jr. performs at this weight, warning from personal experience that dropping down can be dangerous. Frampton further added that this fight will be very difficult for Eubank Jr.
I want to see what Chris Eubank looks like on the scales. I think that his last few fights have been at 160, but he has fought at 168. I think as you get older, rather than coming down the weight, you should be going up the way. You know, it's harder for your metabolism. Your metabolism slows down. It's harder for you to make the weight. I want to have a look at him. I think the weight's hurting him now, and this rehydration clause, I think, also hurts him. Now, people are saying 10 pounds is a lot to be putting on in a day, but for the IBF, when I was IBF champion, I had the same rehydration clause, so the day of the fight I could only be from 122 pounds, I could only weigh 132 pounds, and it hurt me. I used to go to bed at 11.5 pounds over a dry out, 1.5 pounds and weigh in 132 bang on, so I had it down to a fine art. It's going to be very difficult for Chris Eubank.
And there you have it, expert takes, bold predictions, and the fire fueling one of the most anticipated grudge matches in boxing history. Will it be the power and experience of Chris Eubank Jr. or the speed and hunger of Conor Benn that reigns supreme? One thing's for sure, come fight night, the gloves are off and legacy is on the line. Don't miss it, and make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss any of the post-fight breakdowns right here on the channel.